Carrie Soto is back. Is the new book by I guess she's a contemporary author, Taylor Jenkins Reid. She is someone who I've read before. I've read One True Loves and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Great stories, in my opinion. The characters and the delivery, great stories. I haven't read some of her more famous books. Daisy Jones and the Six, Malibu Rising, though I've heard great things about them. They're somewhere on my to be read pile list. We are working with lists. It's somewhere down there, but I'll get to it eventually. So this is Carrie Soto is back. The premise of the story is that Carrie Soto, the greatest tennis player of all time, at least she would have us believe so. She was this very brutal, very high achieving, very successful tennis player of the 60s, and she dominated on the tennis court. She had a reputation a mile long. She's brutal, a competitor. She's her working name, her name is the battle axe. She's brutal. That moment in Dune when Duncan Idaho, or no, the other guy, the trainer says, "You don't know about the Harkonnens. They are brutal." The delivery of that's brutal. The way he phrases it, that's how you can describe Carrie. Though she's not a monster. She's just very competitive, very much a high achiever, and a person who is really dedicated to their craft, who is obsessed with it. This is her story. So the premise of the story is that she set a world record. She retired, stepped down from being an active tennis player, but then this player of this generation breaks her record, and so she gets mad and decides that I'm going to get back in the game. I'm going to give it one last time. I'm going to defend my title. Obviously, something like this, it has very low chance of success because she's getting old. She doesn't have the stamina anymore. She doesn't have the the skills are somewhat ingrained in your body, your muscles. Remember, muscle memory, but she can't play on the same level as she did when she was in her prime. So most everyone expects her to fail. Plus, many people don't like her because of her attitude, because of her brutality. Anyway, I've just read the story. These are just my casual thoughts. Let's talk about it. So, Carrie as a character, I think she's just someone who you just step into her shoes and observe her life and think, wow, okay, I can't relate with you, but I think I sort of understand you. I think I can understand why you're doing this. So she's raised up by her dad. Her dad immigrated to the US some time back. He was also a tennis player back in his country. I forget the exact locale, sorry. But she grows up being. So her dad basically employs something I find curious myself. So from the moment she's a child, he tells her, "You are Achilles, and this is your game. You can do it. You're going to be the greatest, the best. I know you can do this. You are going to do this." And basically, it just reinforces her sense of purpose, a sense of self confidence, and all that from a very young age. Basically, makes her expect to be the best of all time. It's an interesting way. I wonder what that does to the psychology or the psyche of an 8-year-old child. It's interesting to contemplate. I don't know. I think I read this in a book somewhere, but there's this thing. Was it Napoleon Bonaparte or was it? So basically, what is happening here is I don't know, this reinforcement. So I don't know, was it Napoleon or whoever, one of these conquerors, maybe it was Genghis Khan or whoever, but basically the mom raised this boy up telling him, you are the greatest, you are the greatest, you are the greatest, you are the greatest. And the man that this guy grew into was a person who couldn't imagine a world where they weren't the greatest. It sort of makes you into this very successful person, I'd say. But it's interesting what that does to the psychology of such a child, because obviously the world is much more complicated. As is explored in the book, what measure can we use to define greatness? You set a world record today. In 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, someone else will break it. What is There is no real measure for what being the greatest means. There's no standard to measure that. So I guess with this book, Carrie has to go through a journey of basically being able to accept her achievements, and she has done some great things. She has done some great things despite her reputation. Despite her reputation, she has set some standards for, I guess, women's tennis, the grace of the game as is described. So that's where she is at the end of the journey. So something interesting else I want to explore is this idea of building worlds that are interconnected. The most glaring, the most blatant example of this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it seems as though more and more authors are just exploring this. Stephen King did this over a period of over so many years, and he was doing it very subtly, but he did it. Brandon Sanderson is doing that with the Cosmere. Christopher Paolini has done that with, what's it called, something verse, Spectreverse, no. Anyway, it seems like it's a very intriguing thing for authors to do these days, build these interconnected worlds, or rather somehow join your stories with something. Brandon talked about this in his books, as in when he was starting out, he had this idea of having this one character pop up in several of his stories. So it will be sort of like a cameo or something, but he did that with Hoidos Andreas, the Black Piper. So Taylor Jenkins Reid is doing this in her stories, especially the four last ones she's put out: The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Malibu Rising, what's Daisy Jones and the Six, and now Carrie Soto. So I think Carrie was featured in Malibu Rising. She was having some sort of very public, very glaring affair with someone, and she was just a background character in that, and then she pops up in here and has her own story. So I don't know, is this something that we like seeing, these interconnected stories? Is this like a trend that has just become so ingrained in our generation, I guess, because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's influence on us, that we sort of want to see it in other stories? Because personally, when I consider it, it's sort of mind blowing that you'd have this world where it's just a very interesting concept. So that it's not that you are starting from scratch every time. You can just have these other guys show up and do stuff, and you know it sort of makes the world you're building much more colorful, much more realistic. So I don't know. I think it's a good idea. One of the most, I guess, lovable characters. This one has it doesn't have a large cast, so we do relate to Carrie, her dad, Bo. I like Bo. I like Bo, but I don't know. I don't think it was necessary. Okay, I know technically contemporary stories, they always, most usually, they have an undertone of romance in it, but I felt like the romance was unnecessary. For some reason, I just can't believe it that on a chance, on a whim, she meets this guy that she hasn't seen for what, 20 years, and it's just at that moment when she needs a partner for her training exercises, and he's this wimp, this crybaby who fails, but he's also, I guess, courageous in his own words. He has stuck around playing the game for years and years and years, and so they meet, and for some reason they connect. It just feels too random. It feels a bit connived. I don't know. It just didn't work for me. Okay, I like their relationship. I like what he brings to the table, the support that Carrie needs, especially with the passing of her dad and everything. But for some reason, it just felt too random, too weird, too far out of the realm of possibility for me to buy into it. But I'm like, okay, it's a story. It happens. It's fine. We're going to roll with it. I, I guess, and just like many other people in this world, this particular world, feel very inspired, or at least I really really like Carrie's dad. This is a very interesting man to look at. I would have loved to be in his head more, but this is uh, we're sticking with Carrie's perspective. But I would have loved to be in his mind, in his perspective, and we do get that. We get snippets from his notes and all that and all that. But what was this guy thinking as he's raising up this champion daughter? I don't know. I feel like I would like to know that story, to read that story. That will be interesting. Otherwise, I've seen some very negative reviews about this. I don't know. I'm not that qualified to to say it doesn't work, to say whether it tanks or whether Taylor has stepped down from her level of quality. But I did enjoy this. I liked just this foray into such a foreign world, and this is something that Taylor does. I was thinking about this, the way she speaks about the sport, the way she describes tennis and all that. It shows how much research she did into this. I feel like she, I feel like a tennis uh, obsessed person, or a tennis fan, or someone who really knows and loves. I just like the metaphors, the way Carrie describes this and everything. It shows a level of dedication on the other's part that is admirable and that should be lauded. So yeah, that was a big plus in my book. There are several movie deals in the works for her other books. And she has been doing this for a while. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo really throws you into the acting scene. And I've read a few biographies of some of these actors of Hollywood in its early stages, and I feel like she really captured the blitz, the allure, the sort of it's sort of a magic in there. This idea of all these creatives gathered in this one place, and all the salacious bits too, the affairs, the the gossip, and that's something that's also present in all of her books. It's something that really runs rampant in her stories. You have these famous people being obsessed with other famous people, the paparazzi. By the way, check out the Nerd Writer's video on the paparazzi and how they came to be. It's a great video. So the paparazzi and all the glitz and the tabloids, the papers and all that. I don't know if it fits into this particular story, with Carrie being a tennis player, and I don't know if it fit into that, but I enjoy that detail. I think there are several people in the world who are just obsessed with celebrities. Obsessed. It's a big part of the media that we consume today, and it's sort of appropriate to add in here. There was a cameo in this story. There's a moment where Carrie is reading a biography of Daisy Jones, and I'm like, wait, what? Is this the actual book that Taylor read, or is it just an in-world biography? It's obviously an in-world biography. I don't know how I feel about it. It's an interesting detail to add in here. It's like a nod to, oh yeah, that other book. Yeah, to to tie in these stories and say, oh, they're in this compact universe, they're in this same world. But it felt, I don't know, jarring, a bit jarring, but it's fine. I'll forgive it. I like it. Um, so yeah, basically, what I have to say, they're mostly positive things. If I have further thoughts, especially on the characters, because I could talk about Bo, I could talk about the who's this the her agent, the fact that she retires and all that. It's worth thinking about further. So if I have further thoughts, I'll let you know. Otherwise, ciao. I forget how to do this.